I feel sorry for people who live in houses.
Living on a boat is one of the good things. My marriage was not going well. I moved out.
She was gorgeous.
Oh my God, this guy is weird.
You like, I'll leave.
He likes my legs. What attracted me was the accent.
This is no good, so I came home again. All I had in the world was the boat.
I am free now.
We have to manage our water supply.
There have been challenges. I'm not coming to New Zealand, forget it.
We feel sorry, well, not so much Angela. I feel sorry for people who live in houses, right? They're missing out on so much. Amongst the liveaboards, there's a frequently repeated quote that a house is but a poorly built boat that can't leave its mooring.
Living on a boat, that is one of the good things. You have the accommodation and transport. You're just in a different beach. It challenged sometime bad weather, but saying that in 10 years traveling, we probably had 2 occasions where, we're in the middle of the ocean and we just have to go with it.
Probably in terms of challenges, when you're traveling, can't think of anything, I love it. When we're doing what we're doing now, where Angela's still at work, then you've got, it's less convenient, right? But, well, Angela's big complaint is she doesn't have an iron, right? So I'm toying with installing a bigger inverter on the boat so she can have an iron, but of course if I do that I've got to get an RCBO and I've got to get this and I've got to get that and I need 3 of those and 2 of those and that plug doesn't work and it's actually I've got to rewire the boat. When we're travelling, you have a pair of shorts and a t-shirt, what do you need an iron for? People who live in a house, if they want the light to come on, they flick a switch and they expect the light to come on. Right, we have to manage our electrical system. All our electricity comes from these 3 solar panels, right? So we've got solar panels, we've got a controller, we've got house batteries, we've got a starter battery, and then we run everything off 12 volts. So at any given time, I can tell you, sun just came out, we're probably pulling about 8 amps at the moment from the solar panels. So we're putting about 8 amps into the batteries. The batteries are a bit low because it's been raining for about a week, so we've probably only got about 12.3, 12.4 volts. And I've got the fridge on, but there's nothing else on, so I'm sucking out about 3 amps. So there's about 5 amps. This is going on in your head all day, every day, right? So we have to manage our power supply. We have to manage our water supply. We make our own water. We take water out of the river, put it through a reverse osmosis system and we make water. So people who live in houses are incredibly wasteful. They turn taps on and just leave them running. I mean, what's with that?
Or the 20-minute showers.
Yeah, or they leave lights on. I mean, if I get up from that seat, move to that seat, I'll turn that light off and turn that light on because I'm controlling my batteries.
Coming back to the boat after a busy day is good. You feel like you are in an island. You can turn off your phone. You're completely disconnected. You can relax. I used to have a house in Florida, in one of the canals. And Dave was looking a place to tide his boat, cheap. The farther away from the intercoastal waterway, the cheaper it was because it would take an hour to get to the ocean from where I was living. So the only thing was that when he arrived with his girlfriend, he had a girlfriend. So his beard was down here, no hair at all, and was like, oh my God, this guy is weird. And so I went to the Dominican Republic. I was married, by the way. I went to the Dominican Republic and for a month. But when I came back, there was something going on with his girlfriend. And anyway, so he had cleaned up. His beard was shorter. He was dressing a little less than a sailor. And but what attracted me was the accent, the New Zealand accent. I cannot hear it now. I saw him as a good-looking Kiwi. That was in 1986.
Basically, I just worked on boats general maintenance on boats, did a lot of varnish, did a lot of delivery work. So that's why I was there. But what happened, by the time we actually got together, I'd already overstayed my visa, so I was a wetback. We really only had a few months together, and then I sailed the boat more or less non-stop back to Auckland from Fort Lauderdale. But sailboats aren't very fast, so that took 3 months.
My marriage was not going well. So I moved out, and he told his girlfriend what was happening. All the photos from the trip went overboard.
Yeah, that was
She got
sad.
a little bit upset.
She got angry and threw away 8 years of photographs, which was sad.
I moved to an apartment, and Dave came for a week. And then he decided that he could not live in a house, so he moved back to his boat. After 8 years on a boat, living in a house or an apartment was a no-no.
It was a bit like jail.
So he decided to move back to the boat, except that he moved back to the boat with his girlfriend. So that was the end of that romance. But I am free now. I'm not married. And I found that was very relaxing, actually. So I decided to travel around the United States and met a lot of people. I had a lot of girlfriends, and we used to go dancing and, friends. Yeah, so was after 9 years of marriage, I got married, I think, too young. And I told our daughters, if you're going to get married, wait until you're at least 30. At least 30. And then here comes Dave, who left with his girlfriend to bring the boat to New Zealand. 3 months later, I don't know what happened in the way. He came to Fort Lauderdale. I thought, he's not doing that trip. And he did. He came back to Fort Lauderdale. And I said, no.
And you threw me out of the apartment.
Yeah, I said, no. You did it twice. You moved out of the apartment back to her, went traveling with her again. So, no. And so he left back that afternoon and went to his sister in California and then came back to New Zealand. The truth is that when I said I'm not coming to New Zealand, forget it, he was here and he was very depressed. And his sister, I spoke with his sister in California for the first time, and he said, my mother said that my brother is very upset. So what is going on? And so we had a good chat. And then I wrote and I said, look, I will go to New Zealand for a month and see if I like New Zealand, because that was the same. Do we want to stay in Florida? Do we want to go to New Zealand? What are we going to do? Although I had the house still in Florida. Yeah, then I decided to come to New Zealand, but I chose the wrong month. I came in September. I came for a month and rained every single day. There was windy as I can get. And the only day that was not raining was snowing. We went to Rapehu and was snowing. I thought
I'd give Angela a treat.
I have never seen snow. Right? I have never seen
snow. So we drive all the way to Ruapehu, we go up the mountain, we get to the car park, and there's snow everywhere. So Angela gets out and she walks over and she kicks it a couple of times and goes, right, seen it, take me home.
But yeah, no, so then we stopped in Taupo, and I thought Taupo was the most beautiful thing. When we got to that place in Taupo where you have the arch and then the mountain in the background, and it was clear, the sky was so beautiful. And yeah, I fell in love with New Zealand right there. I was freezing, but I did.
When we first met, she was gorgeous. We'll show you some photos. She was physically attractive.
Thank you.
And I was a 30-year-old male, so that was a bonus.
He likes my legs.
Yeah, that and the legs, yeah. All I had in the world was the boat. So I sold the boat. I had to give a chunk of that money to the ex-girlfriend. Then I rang Angela and she said she wasn't coming. And I To be honest, I didn't give it a lot
He
of
was
thought.
lost.
I didn't give it a lot of thought. I just sort of thought, well, I'll get on the plane and go there. And I figured once I got there, I'd be able to change her mind, but she kicked me out. So I thought, well, this is no good. So I came home again. It was like an interlude in your life, like nothing happened for a few weeks. And then she rang up and said she was going to come out for a month. And so then all of a sudden, I'm planning a month because, like I say, it was a sales job. I got a month to convince her this is a good idea. And that went well. But then she wanted to go back home and sell everything and pack up her life and come out here. So what was that? You came just after Christmas, didn't you?
Yeah, I arrived in New Zealand on the 27th of December. I left on Christmas Day. The New Zealand that I remember, everybody was so friendly. And of course, as soon as they hear my accent, they knew that I was, well, as soon as I
From
say
somewhere.
I was from somewhere, and they wanted to know where I was from. And of course, at the time, there was only one person from Dominican Republic, which I didn't know, in New Zealand. So they never heard the name of Dominican Republic in New Zealand. So I was, you know, like very exotic. In Dominican Republic, if you go to the beach, there are sailboats, and they have little boats that they can take you a mile out and come back, you know, for the tourists. But I didn't see the ocean until I was around 17, because from the town where I grew up, to go to the ocean was either 4 hours or 8 hours to the south coast. And so most of my holidays went to the country to visit my aunts and uncles, where you get to a point in a Land Rover Jeep and then go the rest in a horse or a donkey. My father had 42 children. And the things were completely different. All the mothers were friends, but there was not all at the same time. There were 9 mothers, and it was almost like he got bored or something. I don't know what the problem
Very
was.
easily.
Again, he was the only child, and I think he was afraid that his name was going to finish with him, you know. And all the wives were friends, and all the children were friends, and it was a big, beautiful family. And we used to get together every Christmas in my father's house, because when I was born, my father was already 68 years old.
And she's not the youngest.
And my youngest sister was 3 years later. Everybody, or every sailor, have this idea that because you come from an island, you love the ocean, you love this, the boat, and was exactly the same thing. My ex-husband was a sailor, and we met in Dominican Republic, and so we had a boat, and we used to go sailing. The boat was tied up next to his boat, and we used to go sailing, except that I don't know how to swim. I am terrified of the water. So he come home one day and he said, guess what? We are going to go to Los Angeles and buy a boat and go sailing in Baja California.
Then we came back to New Zealand. The idea was I'd get it out of my system, we'd come back and go back to work, but it just made things worse. I just wanted to go again, so we did leave again, and we stayed away for about 10 years. So the first period and then the second period, adding up to about 10 years, there was this, we tell people that we homeschooled the children. When we came back to New Zealand, the schools, we tried to put them into school here, and both schools couldn't figure out where to position them because we just had no record to show. And they did a whole bunch of tests, made them sit all these tests, and both of them, they were so far their peer group that we actually had to hold them back a bit. We didn't want, Anna was about 10, we didn't want her in a class full of 14-year-olds, right? So they wanted to push her ahead so far that we actually said, no, bring her back a bit so that she can still grow up a little. Both girls, as of today, the older girl makes her living as a piano tuner, which provides her a very pleasant living without killing herself, and allows her the free time that she wanted to write music and to perform music. She's also got into, just lately during COVID, when she was in lockdown, she started building instruments, but that's avocation rather than vocation. The younger one's Anna, and she is just about to graduate from Cambridge University with a PhD in history. So she's going to be a history professor at Cornell in the States the year after.
There have been challenges, and there have been times where you make a decision, do we live in a house, do we live on a boat? I think the biggest decision for us this time was to sell our home.
The first 8 years we were married, we worked really hard and we went ahead financially. We ended up with 4 or 5 houses. Yeah. And so the first time we went away, we just rented those out. And that trip pretty much broke even. But then we went away the second time, and it was a bigger boat, and we stayed away a lot longer. We ended up every couple of years.
He didn't want to come back. He wanted to continue sailing.
Yeah. So it was like either we go back and go to work, or we just sell one of the houses. And we ended up selling a bunch of houses, which in investment terms, financial terms, was a disaster. We'd be multi-millionaires now with what's happened in Auckland. But by the time we did come back to New Zealand, we had an unencumbered home just over this other side of that hill there.
I guess that because we are so relaxed, in a way. I come from Latin America, where it's really relaxed. Dave could not be more relaxed. He will be asleep.
If you like, I'll leave and you can just keep talking about me. It's fine.
The first year, I was very homesick because, again, I have never been that far away from my family.
I think the homesick was mostly, though, because like Christmas or Easter or something, there's 100 people around and they're all talking and they're all cooking and they're all drinking and they're all singing and they're all dancing. Whereas we'd go around and have dinner with Mum. And so she missed all the noise. The
noise of the Christmas, the friends. I love Christmas. And like I said before, Christmas in Dominican Republic with my father, we go, we have nuts, Dominican Republic doesn't grow apples. So the only time you had apples was at Christmas time. The smell of the apple and all the sweets and port. You open that bottle of port and have it with cookies, and that was Christmas.
She thinks that when it comes to things like celebrations, New Zealand's pretty dry. In New Zealand in the late 80s was much easier, wasn't it? I knew that when Angela came here, she would be welcomed, right? I just never queried that at all. I got caught out by the homesickness part because I've never been homesick. I don't know what that means, I just happy travelling around and never thought about it. So then you try and find ways to get around it, but there's not much you can do, We had a couple of really good friends from Colombia, and we met some people from Chile. Mm-hmm. And so she had a Spanish group here that could offer a bit of support, which was good.
I was working for Argentina Airlines, so that was my chance to speak Spanish in New Zealand. The Kiwis, I found that they were always friendly to me, but I was friendly to everyone anyway, but they were. I never found this racial thing. And again, I never thought about it. there is a social status in Dominican Republic. You are the rich, you are the middle, or down there.
There's more class discrimination than race.
Than actual the color.
Certainly one thing about if you marry somebody who's not from New Zealand, we have always, like Angela's always had a credit card in her back pocket, and if she needs to go home, she can go to the airport and say, I need to go home. So, and that's just something you've just got to do. There was always at the back of my mind this calculation, if Angela had to leave tomorrow, I could follow a week later, but she could be on a plane and go. And that was something that I was always aware of.
I hear couples talking about, I cannot get away from my husband. I can, I want to go with my girlfriend for a girlfriend weekend. And I don't know if we get along. we just spent, 2 months traveling around United States, and we were together the whole time. And there was one day that Dave went sailing with a friend and I went shopping. But all that time we were traveling together, and there was not, if you don't want to say anything, we just don't say anything. If you want to read your book, you read your book, whatever. So we give each other space by not saying anything.
I let Angela have whatever she wants as long as she lets me live on the boat.
A lot of things that is happening these days with a lot of young couple is that it's my way or no way. So you have to be a little bit flexible in that thing. And a lot of people said, how can you enjoy being for so long on a boat?
A lot of couples don't survive going cruising because you are together 24/7 in a space about a bit smaller than the average living room, right? And people who've been married for 20 years, it concentrates your life into this very small space, and they suddenly decide they can't live with each other. So yeah, people splitting up on boats is not uncommon.
I love going traveling. So for me, it was the destination. For Dave was the journey. And like I told my mother-in-law, everybody was so happy. That would be very selfish of me to say, I'm miserable, I want to go home. I was enjoying it too. The sailing.
Yeah, Angela would tolerate the sailing to get somewhere.
And I still like the guy.
If the sails are up and the boat's moving, I'm happy, It doesn't matter where we are.
Why not New Zealand?
I come from Delhi.
I came from Brazil.
She was the only one in my eyes that I want to take out with.
After there, go out and start your dating.
When the COVID thing happened, I lost my job during that time.
I tried to find another job or work visa can sponsor me in that moment, but it wasn't possible to find.
My visa going to expire in 2 months. It just got a little bit darker. I don't want to ruin my relationship with her.
I'm not here to waste my time.
I don't want to lose her.